Taking my picture off. How do I take my picture off?
I'll be in this month. I get too much information. I apologize. Streaming and. Oh, we don't.
I guess for those that are online, we're waiting, we're one member short of a quorum right now. I guess while we're waiting, we can't do any of the action items, but let's go through those things that we can in terms of reports that don't require any action. I don't think we had any requests from any of that public participation.
We did not.
So the next thing is, I guess we go to you, Cynthia, for the executive director. Okay, we now have a quorum, so let me call this meeting of the Kentucky Commission, August 22, 2024 meeting to order. We now have a quorum in terms of public notice confirmation of that. No public participation. First item up for action is the approval of the minutes of the June 20, 2024 meeting.
So moved.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. I guess for me, I get a couple of corrections in the minutes. Page 9, third paragraph, should be AN and not AND. And then page 10, seventh paragraph, I think one is a him and not a her. So with those corrections, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Minutes stand approved. Now we move to the section report. First up, the executive director.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
We have had a lot of good news from our HUD partners. I'm going to let Cedric give that report when he gives his report. I do want to say that as far as the budget for case processing, funds for case processing during the period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, we didn't receive any. The agency is approved and scheduled to receive $268,200 for processing 89 cases during the processing period of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. And I just want to give accolades to Cedric and his staff. Again, he'll go into a little bit more detail when he gives his report. I also wanted to let you know that this month, next week, actually, our HUD GTM will be visiting here in the office, Anne-Marie Dolce. And so she will be doing an on-site visit during that week. And then we do not know as of yet how much you will receive from the EEOC contract, but that ends on September 30th, 2024. And as soon as we have those numbers and that information, we'll provide that to you. We have completed interviews for the staff attorney 2 position, and Colt will fill you in on that. I also wanted to let you know that the staff assistant position, which was vacated with Marianne Taylor's retirement, it has also been posted. So we will be beginning reviewing and interviewing for that position as well. I won't go through each one of the professional development that we did, but if you have any questions about any of the training that staff has taken, we will try to answer any questions that you may have. This month, we had 40 cases that were submitted for my review and approval, and this was since June 20th, 2024. 26 were employment cases, 10 were housing cases, and 4 were public accommodation cases. Then education and outreach. You may know by now that Chair Verse is scheduled to be the speaker at the Hopkinsville Unity Breakfast on Thursday, October 24th, 2024. We have purchased a table. We have done an ad, or we are submitting an ad. Please let me know if you're interested in attending so that we can add you to the table and or do any lodging that you may desire. We've heard from a couple of people, but again, please let us know as soon as possible so we can make any lodging arrangements for you. The Kentucky Civil Rights Hall of Fame, we're still in the process of coordinating and carrying out the procedures to determine who the inductees will be for this year. We do have our judges in place. We have our bios done. We will be copying the information and we'll be sending that information to the judges shortly. There was one thing that was not in my report. I received, I think it got lost in the mail, but I received in the mail on the 19th. I received a resolution. It's Senate Resolution number 93, and I think Brandon's gonna put that up.
You email it to me?
Mm-hmm. Automatically, it's do not reply automatically from the copier. Senate Resolution number 93 was introduced by Senator Gerald Neal. It was done in March of this year. And again, we just received it August 19th, 2024, but I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of it. I can make copies or we can email if you would like to have a copy of it. And what it is, it's celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Kentucky Civil Rights Movement and the commemorative March on Frankfurt. And again, this was done in March, but we've received this, and I just wanted to let you all know this. I noticed that in the Rosie Week, we're supposed to have gotten a copy as well. I will send out a copy to each one of you also, so you'll have, I'll email it to you. You have any questions about my report?
No, I got a question when we get to Cedric's report on some numbers. Because I think there's a difference in numbers when you look at the Any questions, Ann, for Cynthia? Thank you. Budget, Brandon.
Good morning. You have my report before you. I did include a comparison of our previous lease at the Hayburn and our new lease at Whittington Parkway location. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to field them at this time.
Any questions on the budget or the report? No, it's nice to know we overall we have a reduction, and we will realize it at some point down the road.
I think that is nice, yes.
Great. And as I said to you when we were walking in here, it's nice walking into nice spaces.
Yeah.
It's a major improvement, and it's not only a nice space, but it's a professional space that is worthy of what we do and what you all do on a daily basis. So it's good to see. Okay. Let's go to mediation, Sana.
Good morning, everyone. You have my report before you, just a couple of updates. The mediation that occurred on the 14th is pending. We're pretty close to a resolution. The one that we had on August 20th did settle, and I've scheduled one more in October 23rd. Since the last commission meeting, 3 complaints have been successfully mediated. One was race-based on the 24th, and it settled for $15,000. The other 2 on 6/20 and the one on 8/20 were both resolved with remedial measures.
Okay, any questions relating to the mediation report? Okay, none. Let's move to enforcement, Cedric.
Yeah, well, as you heard Cynthia, we reached a milestone. We did something that we were told by our GTM has not been done before. And that's double the numbers coming off of 0 turned in. So for FY23, I'm gonna do some numbers out there. Think of 0. FY23, we submitted 0 cases to HUD for closure. FY24, we submitted 100 cases during that year for closure. Minus 2, because 2 did not make the time frame. They did not get viewed by HUD. So out of 98, 89 cases were paid for and approved by HUD. Those 9 cases or 11, whatever it is, number of cases that did not get approved by HUD, that's because they were very old. They could not find the complainant, things like that. And they were very, very old cases, therefore not making it to the level of standard in order to receive payment. But most of them couldn't find the complainant or something around that nature. So, I mean, amazing. And we already have some cases already submitted right now during this processing year, which started July 1st. So I definitely want to thank staff. I want to thank the legal department for helping. Some of these cases a few of these cases were PC calls. Some of them were NPC with the help and guidance of legal. I also want to thank Intake, because Intake plays a part in making sure that the cases make sense when we get them so that we can thoroughly investigate them. So it's all a collective, cohesive effort and approach. I also want to show that if you give us the staff we need, we can get down. We can do our best to eradicate discrimination within the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And we also can spread and maybe even unite the Commonwealth of Kentucky if you give us the staff we need. And this is an example, numbers wise, of what can be done when we have the staff possible to do the work. So I wanted to get that out there and out the way. So now back going to my report. If you look, you see that we started over. That's because the processing year for housing started over July 1st. That's the reason why you only see August, because I only put the graph for the commission meeting timeframes. So we are at 218. I do have some cases that have been turned in that will bring that case age back down. I have the oldest case that has been turned into me yesterday. It was ranking that was filed in 22. The last one that we have outside of the processing year when my staff started. I also want to be clear, the processing year, just to throw out something, my staff started maybe 2 to 3 months before the processing year closed in FY23. So that's also, that was staff that was less than a year of investigation, training, and experience that have closed out FY24 before they reached the year. Just wanted to throw that out there. So kudos to the housing staff for what they did, and employment staff for guiding some of the housing staff during that time frame. But that's why that looks like that as far as the numbers go. So we're starting over, and I already have some cases submitted. The cases the numbers that she said today for housing already count towards FY25. So we're already on a good start and a good path. Going to, was there any questions regarding what I just said as far as housing goes? I said a lot there. All right, going to employment. The employment numbers, once again, what was currently turned in does not reflect the numbers that you see right now because there's a 13-day waiting period for reconsideration. I want to be clear about what was turned in and what's reflected in this chart. But we have 116 submitted and 87 has already been accepted. We're on our way, honestly, based on the numbers that have been turned in currently, that's not reflected. We're on our way to reach also that number that you see, contract number of 141 as well. So I want to thank we'll have more of a happy-go-lucky moment once we reach that number, but I want to thank the employment staff for what they do and the work they put in every day. And they're more of a senior staff, and they still come in here and are consistent. So I thank them for that and their hard work. Outside of that, PA, we got some turned in. Those numbers are starting to come down too. I know we don't have a contract federally with public accommodation, but they still are working to close those cases as well and thoroughly investigate those. And those numbers are coming down. Outside of that, that's really all I have that I wanted to make sure I pointed out. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Cedric?
I just have commendations. Thank you all so very much for the work. This is a big turnaround, and it just feels good to hear this type of movement and energy that's working. And I do want to echo whatever we can do. I don't know if there's a way, Chair Burrs, that we could give some kind of an update to our legislators of the progress. And as we had previously talked about increased funding, this could be a good time to highlight and take this information into some other venue of understanding as it would relate to increased funding and indicating, the savings that we have with the move that we have made. Just some kind of an update so that they can continue to keep an eye on the commission and the work that is being done.
Yes.
It is time for us to do our annual report, and that might be a good way to provide that information. To just give a view of what happened, let's just say the last 3 years. Because I don't think we've had an annual report for a couple of years. We can just do our annual report and have that submitted, and we can use that.
I think in addition to that, we did the last meeting, we had a newsletter out. Our members of the General Assembly on a distribution list for that newsletter.
No, but we can make sure they get everything.
I think that is now getting the information out there. I think it's absolutely important to demonstrate what you can do when you do have staff, and so show a trend line in terms of what has happened as a result of those changes. Cedric and Cynthia, I have maybe 2 questions or 3 questions. One, I guess on page 15, at one point, we talked about 11 housing cases, and there's a number 10, which is correct, 10 or 11.
There were actually. Let's see, you're referring to my report, because I don't have a page number, I'm sorry.
Yeah, all I did, I guess the books that we get sent, I use page numbers.
Let me show you the-
But it was just the number of house cases, we had 10, and one place where the number was
There was
11.
10 there. The reason why, I think Cedric had 11 on his and I had 10 on mine, and what happened was we had a housing, no, that wasn't it. That was an employment case. I was gonna say it was a reconsideration, but we don't have reconsideration for housing, so that's not, we'll check and we'll.
No, it was actually, I have 10 on my report. Yeah, on my report that I have 10, so it could have been that I put 11, then I changed it, and I changed it after the fact of it being submitted.
Okay.
But I do have 10 on my current report right here.
Okay,
Of housing cases.
and then I guess on the employment cases, I guess, one place reference 26 submitted, one place 27. So you look at page 26 of your report and compare it to page 15 of hers.
Now that is the one where we had a reconsideration.
Yes,
What happened is a case was submitted for my review and it was closed as an NPC. Closure documents went out to the complainant and respondent. The complainant then requested a reconsideration. And so when they requested a reconsideration, it went right back on the list. And so Cedric had counted it
I
twice.
counted it twice, yeah, I counted it actually.
So-
Since we didn't have a meeting since June, the time frame of the reconsideration asked, and then when it was closed as a reconsideration, all happened before this commission meeting, I counted it twice.
Okay. Now I do read this stuff.
I know.
But thank you all for y'all help and listening and coming up to Kentucky. Thank you for listening. Hopefully y'all understand we can do more if we give them more.
I got one more question.
I like your things.
In looking at the staff and the cases load that is assigned to each and how many they've been out pending, how many days they've been pending. Chad Stratton seems to have the longest time lag of cases. Do y'all give him the toughest one and ask him to go solid?
Yes, no, we don't. We don't actually know. We are working on that. I don't know how much detail I can go into. In a sense, but that has been and is being addressed.
Okay. We'll talk about it.
Now,
Could I ask another question? Given that we have over the last several months moved to a different paradigm for relating to the cases as commissioners, I wondered if there is a state of the Commonwealth report that we could generate that gives a synopsis of the health of this Commonwealth relating to race, discrimination, age, religion, etc. The cases, what are some common factors that keep bubbling up that are issues in this Commonwealth, in the employment, in the housing realm, so that, we could, it's not specific information, but maybe just some kind of executive summary that helps us to see what problems we have that keep recurring. Is there any way that something like that could better help us as commissioners to advocate for overall change, systemic change, in our work as commissioners? I just wondered if something like that could be thought of, conceptualized, and generated. I don't know if it's once a year, but just something like that gives us a sense of advocacy.
Could that be added to this for us? As he says, like maybe at the end, I wouldn't say every year, but monthly, since you guys are the ones working the cases, you guys would know generalized. This year, we saw a lot of this brought up so that we know if we're talking to people, or we're trying to inform people, or we're talking to wherever we're bringing the money from, just give them a general sense. I know that a lot of that you guys can't give us because it's private and we can't, but a general, like he said, maybe, and Buck, have it there so we know what topics are heavy this month. Like when you guys went into the employment, there's a lot of employment cases that are monthly, that are a lot, but what are the issues that are rising with employment? Maybe even not just the issues, but what culture is maybe affected this month, or what race is being affected mostly this month. There might be a reason politically why that's occurring during that month that we could probably help or bring awareness to, that might help us so that we have something to do with.
I just noticed that there's not a list of open cases in this book this time. Normally well, there is. It is.
Yes,
Okay,
there
take
is.
that back.
Yeah.
It actually has the basis for each one of the cases. Would you be asking like for a summary of?
Like, let's say disability, okay, but what kind of disability? Is it mobile disability? Is it something like a little bit, just maybe a little? Or if, I don't know if it's possible really for us to have that information, or maybe send in an email, maybe it's not in an open, forum, but just so that we know, hey, this month disability, there was a lot of issues that had to do with the disabilities in stores, a lot of issues that were arising. And maybe also like we have on here that it was in a certain city. If there's something that is reoccurring and that could help us as well.
So are you referring to like new cases that we would get for the month? Because a
For
lot
the
of
month,
times
yeah.
the cases are gonna be repeated month after
Yeah.
month. So
Like if you guys get a lot of
cases?
calls
Okay.
about certain issues
Mhm.
that just ring a bell or raise a flag or be like, if we could be provided that information, that would help us a bit.
So like a summary report, just so I understand too.
Yeah.
A summary report regarding cases, regarding what type of case it was, what the basically the basis and the issue and what is happening at kind of
Yeah,
like a summary.
Just like a summary, so like if I'm close by, like if something's happening in Moline and I'm not aware of, I would love to know to see where I can poke and prod and see what and help in any way, shape or form. Because I did like disability, the sex thing, but what kind?
Okay.
Because we're left in blank, I think, before we were here, we did have like a case summary of what was going on sometimes, we're not provided that anymore. Therefore, we're left in blank, okay, it's a disability case and there's a lot of them, but what can we help with? So that would give us something to
On the
do.
disability. Speaking just with respect to disability, sometimes what kind of disability ends up becoming part of the investigation
Yeah.
itself. And a lot of times an employer isn't and shouldn't be privy to the specific health issue that a complainant has. So I think general categories, I'm sure is doable with respect to race, sex,
Mhm.
disability, but then getting into the details of the disability may be
Yeah,
difficult to do.
we can't unless we're just giving you a summary of cases in the sense of what's going on,
Yeah.
not specific case names and stuff like that. We're just saying like disability physical, disability mental,
Sure.
file
A
physical.
little bit.
I'm assuming that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Okay.
Just so that we're not left in blank and we know what issues are arising. Like
Right.
you said, we're moving to a different part as commissioners
Right.
where we need to find a goal.
Okay, so I will say one thing, and there's other issues rising, but I can't speak on those until I give you the data. One thing that's still a hot button issue in Kentucky regarding discrimination is still disability.
Mhm.
Disability of all types. I'm not just talking about ESAs, I'm talking about of all types. So that is something I can let y'all know, as far as commissioners are concerned. There's something y'all can look at as far as they go. Disability is still a strong indicator here of discrimination. There's other ones too, but I know the numbers of disability more than I can speak on the other one and bring that up. But there's a rise in other stuff as well. Disability is strong.
And I think what you just said goes to, what I think Frank was talking about in terms of if you're seeing a trend or something that's there, the question is, do we have the tools to address it? Or is that something we need to bring to the attention of legislators in terms of there may need to be a modification or some addition or at least some additional coverage for that? Code would say, given our statutory authority, we have pretty broad powers that we don't exercise, but again, we may want to expand that a little more.
I'm assuming disability is there are what, 4.4 million people in the state of Kentucky, and there's 875,000 people with some form of disability in the state of Kentucky. So that's like 23 or 24% of the population.
Yeah.
So the disability numbers should be consistently high.
Mhm. That's why I can speak on that one. And we're not having solid knowledge on the other categories of discrimination, including in housing, public accommodation, and employment. I know disability is high in all of them.
I thank you all for this robust discussion. It's again something that allows us to be impactful as the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights, rather than just some general reports and resolving cases, getting them resolved, but an outcome that says that gives us something that, according to our choosing as a commission, we could start pushing and trying to make an impact for change in these areas and bringing a sense of awareness to the issues, putting forth a challenge. You know, employers, let's get this right. You know, this is not the way Kentucky should be known. And, you know, helping our governor, helping our legislators turn things around, to me, is a tool that we as a commission, because I think if we can serve our legislators and serve the governor, these branches of leadership in this Commonwealth, I think then we are more in their minds, okay, let's invest in the commission because they're helping us see the problems. Let's make some changes. So I just wanted to bring that up because you all are doing great work, and sometimes it can get lost in the weeds, and we got to bring it up, lift things up, and operate impact.
Okay. Any other questions or any other follow-ups for Cedric? Okay, move the education outreach one.
Good morning, commissioners. You have my report before you. So my report basically has 4 parts. The first part is just we're trying to capture all the number of contacts that we receive in their unit. That includes phone calls, emails, and so on, including calls, follow-up phone calls for inquiries and charges that we have. People still calling the main phone line. The second part is for people who calls for the first time to file a complaint. And so as a follow-up for those inquiries, we have to interview the complainants or the callers, and to determine if we can establish prima facie or jurisdiction. But then the third part of it is we report the complaints that we can actually write a charge. We draft the charge, send the charge to the complainant, they sign it, send back to us. And you may see in my numbers that sometimes the number of complaints that we write is much bigger, higher than the number of complaints that we submit, because a lot of these complainants will just change their mind and say, well, I don't want to move forward with it. So those numbers sometimes don't match. And the fourth part is the activities that we do outside the community. And I want to thank Commissioner Glenn for being part of the education outreach in Owensboro on July the 27th, I believe.
Yes, so Sally, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. That was great. It was a great turnout, and yes, but thank you for your participation there.
Any questions for one report? Okay, let's move the legal unit code.
Good morning. While we may have a broad statutory authority, we do not have a broad budget. And I think with a broader budget, I think we could promote awareness, like Dr. Smith said, with a larger staff of education and outreach. I think that's how you resolve that problem, particularly as it relates to housing and disability. I think a lot of landlords just don't know what's going on. You have my report before you. A couple of notes on it. We have an extern starting next week. His name is Michael Bauer. He's a second-year law student at U of L. And as Cynthia mentioned, we also have a staff attorney too, scheduled to start. I will introduce both of them to you in September. If there are no questions about the report, we do have a case that is set for a vote on approval of a settlement agreement. If we need to, sorry. Yeah, if we do need to discuss that, I recommend going into a closed session to discuss pending litigation, but if there's no need to discuss it, we can hold a vote on its approval. Outside of that, again, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, let's approve the 1260 PA.
Any questions regarding Cole's report, not the particular case, because I think we probably do need to go into executive session for that. So I get a motion. Any questions for Cole? Okay. Hearing none, can I have a motion to go into executive session to pursuant to KRS 61.810(1)(c)(1)(j), discuss pending litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're now in executive session. And I think only the executive director, council, and the commissioners.